Bob Stoops loves the idea of a joint practice.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. I'm John Williams. He's Jay Smith. The discussion over a Bedlam joint practice / spring game has spilled over to the great Bob Stoops, who had this to say with KREF in Norman on Thursday. He said, and I quote, "I like it. It's just good to see somebody else. I think it's a good idea. I mean, they're not going to play each other this year, so who cares?" And then when asked about the idea of a scrimmage versus a joint practice versus a spring game, he says that gets a little bit out of control. It gets too heated, but just to practice against each other would be good. I like that idea. Then maybe in the future, there will be some legs to that. Jay, what's your reaction to what Bob Stoops had to say?
I mean, Bob isn't wrong in that thought. I totally see where he's coming from on it would be good to practice against someone else. I mean, that's kind of what Coach Prime's whole point was with Colorado and doing it. You get tired of hitting your own teammates over and over. And at a certain point, you can't tackle the quarterback anyway, but it kind of just gets old seeing the same thing over and over. You want to break that routine and do something different to really test yourself. Plus, it'll be entertaining to the fans. So I totally get that. I don't want it to be Oklahoma State, though. I actually want to play Oklahoma State in a game. I want the game to actually matter. And like you said last time when we talked about it, it is a lose-lose situation. The more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, no matter what, the reporting is going to be slighted against Oklahoma. Oklahoma dominates Oklahoma State in a practice. Shocking. Sooners show up for a scrimmage, but they don't show up for the game. Sooners get dominated by Oklahoma State. Sooners on the downfall again. Should we fire Brent Venables? So you're going to have all of the negative views and slight when it comes to and reporting when it comes to Oklahoma on that. So yeah, it's not a win-win situation. It's a lose-lose for OU. I want them to play an actual game. Go ahead. You got teams on your schedule you can cut. You can do it. Just pay the buyout. Believe me, both teams have enough funds in the background to be able to make that happen. Just buy out those smaller schools and just add an additional team to your schedule. It sucks, yes, because you're gonna be paying. You don't get to have a quote unquote preseason, but yeah, I'm still not feeling it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I get where Bob is coming from, but you've got a number of teams within driving distance that make more sense to me than Oklahoma State. SMU is right down the road. TCU is right down the road. UNT is right. Like those are within 3-hour drives of Norman. Kansas State, not far. Tulsa, just up I-44. Like these are not difficult teams to get to come to Norman or to make a return trip. Like Joe Castiglione has a good relationship with a number of athletic programs across the country. They can make something happen. My biggest issue is that Oklahoma State stood there and tried to throw all kinds of heat at Oklahoma for leaving for the SEC and basically said the rivalry's over because Oklahoma left for the SEC. And didn't want to get creative to find a way to make it work. But mostly because Mike Gundy back in 2021 said he didn't want to consider Bedlam because of the potential impact on his bottom line. He said that you win more, you earn more. You lose, you earn less. And so he doesn't have any interest of having that game on the schedule because he knows that it's not worked out in his favor more often than not, significantly more often than not. Sure, he's had some more recent success over the last 4 years or the last 4 games that they'd played, but his record up until like 2021 was terrible against Oklahoma. So good. So of course he's not interested in having that game count on the actual regular season schedule. He doesn't want that game to impact his bowl opportunities, to impact his potential at making the college football playoff. he's not interested in that. But what he is interested in is using Oklahoma's brand to make money.
Yeah.
He's going to piggyback off the Sooners to make money. And I'm not interested in that. I'm sorry. Like, you could do that with any number of programs. You want to do like Patty Gasso's doing. Go benefit another program, benefit a UNT, benefit a Tulsa. Oklahoma State, you're on your own, man. Like, go find somebody else to piggyback off of. You're not going to do it off of Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're trying to dodge the smoke, and that's the thing that annoys me. As you just said, you can make it work, and pulling off an upset during the season is so much bigger for you all than it is doing losing 4 or 5. You'll lose 4 or 5 times, but getting that upset so much bigger for you all than it would be for the scrimmage. So, but I get where Bob is coming from too, as a former coach, pointing out that, just having something different would be fun, and then bringing back the tradition. Yeah, he's not wrong there. That's the thing about it. I'm not saying that he's completely wrong in his thought. I get it. But for me, I don't want to see them I don't want to see them unless we're seeing each other in a meaningful game where we have some sort of implications. Because like you said, John, Oklahoma State has a good chance of making a run in the Big 12. Teams are up and down there. They showed last year that they weren't capable, that they should have. And so now if you do this at the end of the season, similar to what Clemson, South Carolina does every year, or even Florida State, you end the year against each other, and there's a good opportunity that somebody's going to knock somebody out of either playoff contention or out of a top seed. That to me is way more impactful for this rivalry than just seeing each other in colored covers and having certain people that can't be touched.
Yeah, Sam Mays, a former Oklahoma State offensive lineman, he was in favor of it as well, talking about how it honors the rivalry, it creates more energy in the state, it gives teams opportunity to go up against somebody else. And listen, I get where he's coming from too, but to me, it doesn't honor the rivalry, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I get where they're coming from with the. Because in-state rivalries are a lot bigger than even the actual rivalry itself. I mean, Oklahoma has a 90-12 record in this rivalry, but the bigger portion of the rivalry is the in-state camaraderie, the in-state, banter that you get from that. So that's why that game is so important, even if it's very lopsided. People live and work next door to fans for the opposite program. So this is like a commonplace. I mean, the only people like Sooner fans deal with a lot of Texas fans in northern Texas, since that's technically considered southern Oklahoma, but they deal with those people on a daily basis. So, they can have jabs and banter and everything, and they see each other in Dallas for the Cotton Bowl and Red River. But for Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, it's that in-state banter that you don't get to have anymore. Now, I mean, of course, Oklahoma State fans we won the last Bedlam that's going to play for a while. Cool story, bro. If that gives you something to feel good about, I love it for you. I'm happy for you. I'm big on sports fans finding some sort of joy regardless of what's going on with your team. So yeah, cool story. I want them to actually play football, though. I don't want them to just do a little scrimmage where it's all calculated and the coaches are on the field being the refs, stopping stuff. No, I want the refs to be in there, and I want y'all to go chest to chest, helmet to helmet, and I want somebody to get a peanut punch and all that. I want that stuff to happen.
And that's why Oklahoma State and Oklahoma State fans want it to be a spring thing. Because they don't want to lose that. We won the last Bedlam title. That championship belt that they're carrying around and that banner that they've hung inside their practice facility. No, they don't want to lose that. They want it to be in the spring, where nobody's really going to care if Oklahoma goes out and does what they're supposed to do against Oklahoma State. Can Oklahoma do what they're supposed to do this fall? One college football analyst believes so. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Nissan. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro 4X is built for big cruise, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro 4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. That's nissanusa.com.
March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's right. That's $200 extra bucks if you use on anything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I love how easy the FanDuel app is because when I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. They've got everything you're looking for from spreads, totals, game props, all of that so you can have a great time. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the hoops action all tournament long.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. CBS Sports released a look at the SEC over-under for 2025. This comes from Brandon Marcello, and he goes through each team's schedule, taking a look at which wins, which losses are going to come on the schedule, and decides, okay, over or under that win total. Oklahoma's win total is still kind of sitting at 6.5. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty about where the Sooners are. Otherwise, you're going to see that win total probably rise as we get closer to the fall. But Brandon Marcello, he picks the Sooners to go over that 6.5, Jay. Looking at wins against Illinois State, Temple, obviously, Kent State, obviously, but Auburn, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri, and they have them winning against LSU, going 8 wins. Oklahoma's 4 losses on the season, Michigan, Texas, Tennessee, and Alabama. And here's what he has to say. Venables pushed the right buttons in the offseason, but will it translate to more than 6 wins? Week 2 brings a home date with Michigan and an opportunity to get the program back on the map. Trips to Tennessee, Alabama, and South Carolina are troublesome. Still, it's not difficult to find 7 wins on the schedule. These Sooners could surprise in the SEC this fall, Jay.
So it looks like the prediction is for us to comfortably go over that 6.5, not just slightly make it at 7. Looks like we're getting an 8-win total on that. And I asked the question about these 4 games that we're supposed to lose. Why? Like Michigan, I don't get us losing to Michigan at home. Michigan had a lot of, for 2 years in a row, they've had a lot of kids leave for the draft. Mm-hmm. And they've got a lot of refreshing to do. And they haven't had a quarterback in 2 years. Well, in a year. And this will be the second year where they're trying to figure out who the quarterback is. And I totally understand how good Bryce Underwood is. I am high on him as well. I was also high on DJ Lagway at Florida. But the one thing you learn about young quarterbacks is first couple of games, it's not very good. It's a little shaky, a little rocky. And even for Lagway. But you start to see that about the 3rd or 4th game, 5th, 6th, about the 5th game, you're like, okay, he's going to be something. But then, unfortunately, he got injured. But I see the same thing with Underwood. Michigan's going to go out there and play a power football game. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try to run down your throat, push you around. Oklahoma does the same thing. That's kind of like that's kind of who we are. We play the physical type football game. I mean, look at what Michigan did to Alabama, but look at their struggles against Texas, right? I think they'll see a similar type setup and situation against Oklahoma because Arbuckle is going to bring a creative offense while at the same time Oklahoma's going to try to push them around too. So I don't see how this is any different than that game last year for them. They've just lost too much talent. They've got a lot of stuff to refresh. They've still got NFL bodies. They still got a big refresh to do before, I'm giving Michigan this season to really get themselves back on track.
I think they've upgraded their quarterback situation. I just don't know if it's going to be as good as it can be week 2.
Instantly. Yeah.
On the road in Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, brought to you by Sonic. I don't think, they're not brought to you by Sonic yet, but anyway. Yeah. I just think that going on the road week 2, facing Brent Venables defense with a really good defensive line, a really good safety group, a really good linebacker group, that's not necessarily the recipe for success, because if you're Sharon Moore, you're going to try and take a little bit of the pressure off of Bryce Underwood or whichever quarterback you have, and you're going to try to run the ball. Well, Oklahoma was really good against the run last year, one of the most efficient run defenses in college football, and you're bringing back all that talent, aside from Ethan Downs and Danny Stutzman.
Right.
Still really good, especially up the middle at defensive tackle, potentially even better than what you were last year. So I feel great about that one. The other ones where you're looking at, okay, at Tennessee, understandable, going to Neyland, but Oklahoma's done that before, right? They've gone to Neyland Stadium and they've won. You're picking them to lose to Texas. Okay, fine. Everybody, I think, is going to be picking Texas to win that game because of Arch. And then you're picking them to lose at Alabama. Maybe. I mean, that's going to be an end of the season game. Whichever quarterback is starting for them for the majority of the season is going to have it figured out when Oklahoma comes to town. And they're going to be pretty talented, but I just don't know that necessarily that they're definitively more talented than Oklahoma or definitively a better team than Oklahoma right now.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that for Texas right now. Like, I mean, no shade to them at all, but actually a lot of shade. It's Texas. We're supposed to throw shade at them. That's a rival. But no, I don't think Texas is going to be terrible next year, like a lot of people are predicting. But I do think they have a lot of stuff a lot of questions they have to have answered. And similar to what we had last year, our big questions were offensive line and, wide receiver. Even though we were full of veterans, it was offensive line and quarterback that we were trying to figure out because we knew the defense was going to be good. Texas had a big refresh on that defense, even though they got two studs back there that I'm not too concerned about. They got some pretty solid young guys in the secondary, and the defensive line I think is okay, but their offensive line is they got a refresh there. And so now we got to see if these young pups are ready to step up and play, because a lot of them did not get much game last year, and so not too many snaps. So that's what we're going to be looking at. I don't know how I feel about them just coming in and, dominating the Red River. I think it's going to be similar to it was in 23. Everyone thought they were going to just run all over us, and I actually feel like it's going to be kind of an alternating thing every other year between the two of us for the next few years. It just feels like that's what it's going to be. The way that the classes are lining up, Oklahoma has a really good chance for the next couple of years of having a lot of veterans on both sides of the ball. Probably for the next 2 years, and then they'll have 1 year where they'll have a lot of young players finally starting to get back in and playing. But OU has played, as soon as are one of the top teams in snaps for players as a freshman, redshirt freshmen, and sophomores in the country for like 2 years straight. So we're playing a bunch of really young players. Again, this staff likes their recruits, so they're playing their recruits. And for Texas, they didn't play a lot of them, so we've got to see what the snap counts are going to look like and see how they develop over the year. But I don't think Texas is one that I'm concerned about. I take those two off personally. Tennessee, Alabama, totally get. The good thing for Oklahoma is when you go look at that schedule, and we have to break down the schedule once again, it's going to get later in the summer. We have to talk about this, but the placement of games for Oklahoma is pretty optimal. Like, we don't have back-to-back road games this season, like in consecutive weeks. There's a gap in between there. So you play against, Tennessee, and then you have a bye week, and then you go to Alabama. That, to me, is huge for what Oklahoma wants to do. Kent State right before Texas. So you're getting a little bit of quote-unquote cupcake game. You go to Temple right before you play against Auburn. There are spaces in there that's helping. Illinois State right before Michigan. So you get my drift here, right? Yep. We get to the schedule's optimal, similar to it was last year. It's pretty optimal this year. So a competent offense should make us be able to be a heck of a lot better than it was last year.
Yep. That's really what it comes down to for Oklahoma. The defense is going to be good. The offense has to return to respectability. And if it's good, Oklahoma is going to do some damage in 2025.
But real quick, I've noticed something about a lot of this. There's not very many unders that they're picking for these teams right now in this article. Thought that was pretty interesting with Texas A&M and who was this, South Carolina and Vanderbilt being their unders. South Carolina, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt are Vanderbilt under 4.5. They really don't think that they're going to win more than 4 games. That's very fascinating. Clark Lee, you go get them. You teach them a lesson.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I have a hard time with the Georgia over under, that set at 9.5. Like, we'll see. We'll see. Do you have it in whoever that quarterback is going to be over there? The Auburn over 7.5. Again, we'll see. Can Jackson Arnold, rediscover himself? The Arkansas over 5.5. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible with Taylor Green. Alabama over 9.5. I don't know, man. I don't know that they're better than they were last year, and they won 9 games last year. So
right,
that's the difficulty in all of this.
I'll give them this. They did say that Auburn is expected to lose at Oklahoma, so I'll take that.
Yeah,
at least to get a little respect there, right?
Yeah, Brent Venables is going to make life really difficult on Jackson Arnold. Sorry, man. It's just the way it's about to go down.
Oh yeah, it's about to be bad.
But will Brent Venables make life difficult in what is considered one of the more intriguing neutral site games, but not the most intriguing neutral site game? Let's discuss that coming up next on Locked On Sooners.
Daylight savings time snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day. I mean, heck, making content keeps your boy busy. 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up wherever you need it. Me personally, I will snag it because I love it on the go, especially when I'm traveling or, just going to a game. 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. So head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and my favorite, berry and peach mango. You can build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? I kind of do. Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today. Stay energized.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Hey, Jay, what's the most intriguing neutral site game for 2025?
I mean, to me, it's got to be Red River if you really think about it because, new Arch Manning, their quarterback. Oklahoma has a new quarterback. Mm-hmm. Can Oklahoma bounce back from an abysmal offensive performance? So many storylines to go in that game. But that article, I kind of get where they're coming from.
Yeah, Corey Nagel of 247 Sports. He chooses Georgia, Florida, that meets in Jacksonville for the world's largest cocktail or outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah,
that name just does not roll off the tongue quite like Red River Rivalry, Red River Showdown, Red River Shootout, whatever you want it to be.
Nothing.
And the implications of OU Texas this year are huge. Can Brent Venables even his record? Is Oklahoma going to be on a playoff trajectory? Arch Manning versus John Mateer, Colin Simmons versus R. Mason Thomas, or Colin Simmons versus Oklahoma's offensive line. The storylines write themselves every single year, but Oklahoma has to get this one back. Brent Venables has to get this one to rewrite the narrative around OU Texas. He's gotten dominated twice in this game. He won an emotional, incredible, last second victory over Texas in 2023. But OU needs to come out and they need to have a statement performance against Texas at some point. This needs to be the year.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be a back and forth type series, as I mentioned in the last segment. It just feels like both teams are poised to be able to find ways to outdo each other, which to me is a really good rivalry. You want it to be back and forth. You want it to be, but the thing is, Oklahoma needs to bring the consistency. That way, the games are actually good, and they're not having two fall apart seasons right while they're playing in it. Right, you get this. Brent Venables gets this win. He goes even. Sarkisian goes back down with a losing record against Oklahoma. And that's kind of the way that you want to keep it. Let's keep it in that direction. But I get why they picked Georgia, Florida as the most intriguing right now because, one, Georgia, we don't know about that quarterback situation. Gunnar Stockton's going to be running it. We have questions about Gunnar Stockton. They ain't got Carson Beck. And then DJ Lagway of Florida is a up and rising quarterback and player in college football that everyone's excited about. You know, we got to see some flashes from him last year when at the beginning of the season for Florida when, you know, Lagway took over. So you've got yourself an intriguing setup between Georgia and Florida. I'm here for it. I totally get it. And I'm still surprised that they picked Georgia versus Florida. And I only say that for one reason, John. Arch Manning. Like, he is the golden boy of college football, and I am surprised that anyone would take in their right mind to pick any game outside of one that he is in to be considered one of the bigger games for the year, especially for a neutral site. Come on. All we're going to be hearing about is Arch Manning once the season goes in. He is going to be the media darling. You'll see him on the cover of College Football 26, guaranteed. He'll be there. So because of that, I am surprised that they didn't lean in on the marketing component of Arch Manning and waiting to see what he's going to be. Because truth be told, by that, fifth, sixth game, we'll have a great idea of what Arch is going to be in the Sarkisian system. We'll have an understanding of the line. Heck, we'll find out week 1 when they go to the Horseshoe. Now, if anything, that better be the number one game for the season as far as matchups go, because that's the one that I think a lot of us are going to be tuned in and curious to see what happens.
Yeah, the Arch component right here is the most intriguing aspect. He's been the most highly anticipated quarterback for years. You know, probably dating back to when he was initially ranked the number 1 overall player in his recruiting class. Everybody's created, and probably even before that, right? There's another Manning that plays quarterback. Oh, okay. As an 8th grader, let's see what happens.
Let's go.
So everybody's been kind of waiting for the Arch Manning season. Everybody's been waiting for his time as a starter. And now he's going to get his first opportunity to play in Red River. He's going to be donning that burnt orange because Oklahoma will be in whites this year. And so it's going to be an iconic look, you know, like I hate the burnt orange, but a lot of people like that burnt orange look. It's going to be in
like their whites.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. I really like their whites.
It's look a whole lot better. I played it on NCAA 25 or college football 25 the other day. I put Oklahoma in all whites because, you know, just got to sometimes. And, but yeah, Texas looks better than all whites, but he's going to be in that burnt orange, which Texas is going to market the heck out of. But it's going to be in Red River, like the best rivalry game in college football, one of the best rivalry games in all of sports. And it's going to be his first time playing it. It's going to be John Mateer's first time playing it. It's going to be Arch Manning versus Brent Venables defense. It's going to be a huge game. It's going to have college football playoff implications. It's going to impact the SEC title race. This is going to be a huge, huge game. And there's no better neutral site venue than the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. There's no better setup than the 50-50 split in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, in the State Fair of Texas. There's nothing better than that. I don't care if it's a neutral site game that's going to be for the national title. It's still not better than OU Texas in the Red River Showdown, in the Cotton Bowl, in the State Fair of Texas. Nothing's better than that because you cannot recreate the environment that is OU Texas. There's
I agree.
Like it.
I agree. And there's a lot of people that care so much about that game. And that's the kind of the thing that makes it so good. And I mean, like I said, Georgia, Florida has always been big. I mean, they call it the world's largest outdoor cocktail party with all the random naming for a reason, because everybody's out there partying their butts off at the neutral site game there, which they do similarly every single year. But it's that 50-50 split of the red and the orange, and you see it and feel it. And honestly, I think the one thing that adds to it is just how much, you know, the Cotton Bowl being that older stadium, it just kind of gives it an additional feel right in the middle of the fair. You know, it's so many people. Gosh, my goodness. I can't wait to get down there this year. I actually get to make this year's game. I missed last year's. I had to work. I will be at this game this year. And we are 1-0 in games that I actually attend. So I was there for the iconic one, and I'm going to be there for this one. So we should hopefully keep my record good. I have high expectations of you, Brent Venables. I have high expectations of you, Oklahoma. I am very selfishly expecting you to do great for me. I don't care about anything. Me. You do. I'm looking at you right now in this camera. Brent Venables, Oklahoma Sooners. Jay Smith needs you to keep his record perfect.
Yeah, don't make Jay leave sad. Don't make Jay leave the Cotton Bowl sad. He might eat 20 corn dogs. No, as so much in college football changes, the Cotton Bowl stays the same.
It does.
And it's one of the links to the beautiful nature of college football that everybody longs for, right? As everything changes, you still have one thing that you can kind of rest on, and that's the Cotton Bowl, the Red River Rivalry in the Cotton Bowl being what it is. The Cotton Bowl is not even played in the Cotton Bowl at the end of the season anymore. It's played in an NFL stadium. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party is played in an NFL
stadium.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
And that's
going to do it. Go ahead.
It doesn't have the same feeling.
It's not. It's just not the same. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Next week, we're going to ask the question, which former 5-star has to have a breakout season for the Oklahoma Sooners in 2025? It's going to be an intriguing question. There's 4 on the team. I'd be curious to hear y'all's answers on YouTube or on Twitter. Make sure you go follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can also read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms, so go follow us over there. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you next week. Boomer.
Sooner. Yeah, I like the cocktail party. I want to go one day, but it ain't Red River.
No, it's not. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Not the same.